Here is a paradox for you to chew on. Biologically speaking, the ultimate goal of every living thing, from a single-celled organism to a CEO in a high-rise, is survival.
Right. It's the prime directive.
It's the prime directive. Stay alive, pass on legumes, just keep going. So why is it that when human beings actually achieve that goal, when they survive a catastrophe or an illness that others didn't, the brain's reaction isn't relief or joy? It's often this crushing, debilitating sense of guilt.
It's like you win the game of life, but you feel like you've committed a crime.
Exactly. It's completely counterintuitive. You're left asking, why me? Why am I the one still standing?
And instead of gratitude, you find shame.
Today, we are doing into survivor's guilt. We're working off a really great medically reviewed dossier from Medical News Today, reviewed by Dr. Timothy Lade. And honestly, I went into this thinking I knew what it was.
Right. The usual suspects.
Totally. I was picturing the movie tropes, Saving Private Ryan, soldiers, plane crashes, that kind of thing.
That's the cultural shorthand we all have. We tend to, gatekeep the term for these massive headline-grabbing events.
But the research paints a very different and much, much more pervasive picture. The reality is that this is happening in households everywhere, often in complete silence.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive, I think, is to figure out why our brains glitch like this. We're going to look at the groups you wouldn't expect to feel this, the weird evolutionary reason we might be programmed for it, and then how to actually cope.
And glitch is a good way to put it. But I want to be careful not to minimize it. The source makes it really clear we aren't just talking about feeling a little down.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is systemic. It hits your neurobiology, your psychology, your physical body.
So let's get into the definition first, because I think people toss the term around pretty loosely. Is survivor's guilt something I can, get officially diagnosed with? Is it in the DSM-5?
Not as a standalone diagnosis, no. And that's a really important nuance to start with. Historically, mental health professionals did kind of treat it as its own specific disorder. But as our understanding of trauma deepened, they realized it's not really an island. It's actually a major symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
So it sits under the PTSD umbrella now.
It's often the central feature of it, really. The clinical definition is it's having feelings of guilt because you survived a life-threatening situation when others didn't. But, and here's where the research just blows the doors off, life-threatening doesn't just mean a battlefield.
This is the part of the article that really grabbed me. I mean, we know about 9/11 survivors, first responders. That tracks. But the source lists groups that are walking around us every single day who I'd never associate with this. Specifically, cancer survivors.
That's a huge demographic, and they often go completely unrecognized in this context.
And it completely flips the script on how we talk to them, doesn't it? You beat cancer, you ring the bell at the hospital, everyone's celebrating. But the research says inside, that person might be in a really dark place.
Well, think about an infusion ward. You're sitting there for months, getting chemo next to the same people, you get to know them, and then you go into remission, and the person in the chair next to you doesn't.
That proximity, it makes it so personal.
It does. There was a study from 2019 focused specifically on lung cancer survivors, and it suggested that up to 64%,
wow,
nearly 2/3, experience this specific type of guilt.
That number seems incredibly high for what's supposed to be a medical success story. 2/3 of survivors feel guilty about surviving.
It just highlights how isolating success can be in the face of tragedy. You're asking, why is my body working when theirs failed? Did I deserve this more? Is it just random?
And if it's random, that's almost more terrifying.
Exactly. And there was another UK study from a traumatic stress clinic. They found that 90% of participants who survived an event with fatalities reported feelings of guilt.
90%.
90.
Okay, so that tells us this isn't a disorder in the sense of something going wrong with a few people. It's almost a universal human response to surviving loss.
It's like the default setting for the human brain after trauma.
And the list went on. Transplant recipients. I mean, my God, someone literally had to die for you to get that heart. Parents who outlived children. Even family members of people with hereditary conditions where, the coin flip of genetics just went their way.
That genetic component is so heavy. You can see siblings where one inherits a fatal condition like Huntington's and the other doesn't. The one who was safe often carries a lifetime of guilt for just being the healthy one.
So if this is the default setting, we have to ask why. I mean, why would evolution wire us to be miserable about the one thing we're supposed to do, which is survive? The article gets into the psychology, and it talks about false beliefs.
Yeah.
And this felt a bit like the brain trying to rewrite history to make sense of total chaos.
That's a great way to describe it. It's a cognitive distortion. When chaos happens, a car crash, a sudden illness, we feel utterly helpless. And human beings, we hate feeling helpless. It's maybe the most uncomfortable emotion we have.
Oh, so we invent a scenario where we actually had power.
Precisely. After the event, the brain tries to reclaim a sense of control by creating a story where you could have done something. You tell yourself, if I had just made us leave 5 minutes earlier, we wouldn't have been at that intersection.
Or if I'd noticed he looked pale, I could have made him go to the doctor.
Right. You're taking responsibility for things that were completely out of your hands. But here's the psychological kicker. We prefer to feel guilty rather than helpless.
Wait, unpack that for me. We choose guilt over helplessness.
Because guilt implies agency. Guilt implies you had the power to change the outcome. If you admit you are helpless, you have to admit that the universe is random and dangerous and you have no control. That is existentially terrifying.
Wow.
So the brain chooses the false belief that you were at fault, because at least that means you mattered in the equation.
That's heavy. It's like a backward God complex. I am powerful enough to have stopped this death is a safer thought than I am just a leaf in the wind.
You nailed it.
That's exactly.
But the part that really blew my mind, the big aha moment of this whole report for me, was the evolutionary theory. You know, we think of evolution as survival of the fittest. If I'm the fittest, I should be happy about it. But this article connects survivors' guilt to our ancient history as pack animals.
This is where we have to look at how we lived for 99% of human history. We lived in small, tight-knit tribes. Your survival depended entirely on the group accepting you.
Right. You get kicked out of the cave, you're done.
You die, exactly. Now imagine you and a hunting partner get attacked. You escape. He doesn't. You come back to the tribe alone. If you just stroll in looking happy or bragging about your speed or even just indifferent, how does the tribe react to you?
I look like a threat or a sociopath. I'm not one of us anymore. And the tribe might cast you out to protect the group. So researchers hypothesize that this guilt, this display of submissiveness and suffering, is actually an ancient safety mechanism.
So it's a signal.
It's a signal. It says, I am not a threat. I am hurting too. I value the group more than myself. Please don't kick me out.
Wow. So it's basically a please don't fire me email to the tribe, but it's written by our DNA.
It is a perfect analogy. It's a submission display.
But here's the problem, right? We aren't in the cave anymore. We're not at risk of being exiled because we survived a car crash. But that ancient software is still running.
And that's where it becomes maladaptive. You survive cancer or a layoff at work where others didn't, and your primitive brain just screams, show them you're suffering or you're unsafe.
What?
It goes into total overdrive.
And that overdrive eats you alive. So what does that look like today? We know the internal feeling, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. But the source emphasizes that because this is PTSD, it's not just in your head, it's in your body.
The body keeps the score. Absolutely. You have the psychological symptoms, irritability, anger, confusion. But physically, you see trouble sleeping, nausea, stomach aches, headaches. Your cortisol is just spiked. You're constantly in a state of high alert.
The article also mentioned a worldview shift. This isn't just that I feel bad, it's that the entire world looks different.
It shatters the assumptive world. Most of us walk around assuming the world is generally safe and, generally fair. When you survive something where others died, that illusion just shatters. The world looks chaotic and menacing.
You feel like you're walking on a sheet of thin ice that could crack any second.
And you feel like nobody else gets it because they're all walking around like the ice is solid concrete.
Yeah.
And that leads to this profound isolation.
And we have to be real about the severity here. The source is very explicit. This is not just feeling sad.
No, and this is the most critical point for anyone listening. Survivor's guilt is strongly linked to suicidal ideation. The combination of the trauma itself, plus the crushing weight of the guilt, this feeling that you shouldn't be here, can make people feel like they don't deserve to keep living. It's a very dangerous spiral.
Which is why we need to talk about the toolkit. The article pivots to coping strategies, and I want to run through these because some of them are pretty surprising. They aren't just think happy thoughts.
Right. And the context here is important. For many people, this does resolve on its own. But for about a third of people, it hangs around for 3 years or longer if it's not treated. So active coping is key. You can't just wait for it to fade.
Okay, so how do we fix the glitch? The first strategy mentioned is acceptance, which sounds like a bumper sticker. And frankly, if I'm in pain, accepting it feels like giving up.
It's actually the opposite of giving up. But it is incredibly hard because our instinct is to fight the pain. We tell ourselves, this is irrational, I didn't cause this, stop feeling this way. We try to logic our way out of it.
We try to debate our own brain.
And we lose.
Yeah.
Every time. The advice from the experts is to just stop the debate. Sit with the feeling. Acknowledge the guilt is real, even if the reason for it isn't logical. You can't process what you refuse to feel.
So you have to say, I feel guilty, and that's part of my grief, not I shouldn't feel guilty.
Exactly. And that leads right into strategy number 2, connection. This goes straight back to the evolutionary thing, doesn't it? If the fear is being cast out of the tribe,
then the cure must be rejoining the tribe.
Yes, isolation feeds the guilt, connection starves it. But there's a trap here. Friends and family, they often don't get it. They'll say well-meaning things like, but you should be so happy you survived, you're so lucky.
Oh, the toxic positivity angle, at least you're still here.
Which just makes the survivor feel more guilty for not being happy. It validates the fear that they're wrong. That's why the source highly recommends support groups, talking to other cancer survivors or other veterans.
People who speak the language.
Yeah, there is immense power in hearing someone else say, I feel like a fraud for being alive, and realizing you aren't crazy.
Okay, strategy 3 is mindfulness, but specifically for the flashbacks. The article talks about grounding. Grounding. Can you explain how that actually works? Because when I hear mindfulness, I think of meditation apps, not a trauma response.
It's more like emergency triage for your brain. When a flashback hits, your brain literally thinks it's back in the trauma. It's time traveling.
Yeah.
Grounding is about forcing the brain back to the present moment.
Using tangible sensory things.
Right, like focus on the texture of the denim on your jeans, rub the fabric, listen for the hum of the refrigerator or the traffic outside, count 5 blue things you can see in the room right now.
So you're using your physical senses to anchor yourself in the now.
It breaks the loop. It tells the primitive part of your brain, we are not in the crash. We are in the kitchen. We are safe.
Strategy 4 is self-care. And I want to reframe this because it's not about bubble baths. The article treats this like biological regulation.
It is a medical necessity. Your nervous system is fried. You've been running on stress hormones for maybe months. You need sleep, you need good food, and you need exercise to literally burn off that adrenaline.
And there's a big warning label here too.
A huge one. Drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
It is so tempting to numb that guilt. A drink quiets the voice for an hour. But substance use disorder is a massive risk with PTSD. Alcohol is a depressant. It might feel like it helps tonight, but it will make the anxiety and depression so much worse tomorrow.
It's borrowing happiness from tomorrow at a very high interest rate.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, the final strategy, and I think this one is the most powerful for the long term. Altruism.
This goes back to agency. Remember, we said the root of the guilt is often that feeling of helplessness.
Right.
Helping others is the direct antidote to helplessness. It's turning your pain into a purpose.
So volunteering, donating blood, that kind of thing.
Or just educating people, sharing your story so others feel less alone. It proves to your brain that you are capable. It answers that gnawing question, why did I survive? With a tangible answer, I survived to do this.
It gives the survival meaning.
Exactly. It integrates the trauma into your life story instead of letting it be the end of the story.
I love that. But we also need to be responsible. Sometimes yoga and volunteering aren't enough. This source outlines really clear red flags for when you need to call in a pro.
We have to know the limits of self-hype. If the symptoms are disrupting your life, if you can't work, can't sleep, if the flashbacks are constant, you need a professional, a trauma-informed therapist.
And therapy works for this.
It's the gold standard. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, EMDR. These are proven tools to reprocess the trauma. You do not have to white-knuckle this alone.
We need to give those crisis resources. If you are listening and you're in that dark place or you know someone who is, these are the numbers directly from the source.
Please say these. If you're in the U.S., you can call or text 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can also chat at 988lifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME-E to 741-741 to reach the crisis text line.
And if you are in immediate danger, call 911.
For our international listeners, look up Befrienders Worldwide to find the helpline in your country.
Asking for help is the strongest thing you can do. It is not weakness, it is strategy.
Absolutely.
So, we've gone from the caveman days to the oncology ward and all the way through the toolkit. When you step back and look at all of this, what is the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think it's that survivor's guilt isn't a moral failing. It's not a sign that you're ungrateful. It's actually a sign of your humanity. It's your brain trying to stay connected to your people. It's just a mechanism that needs a little recalibration. You aren't broken. You're just human.
For me, the takeaway is how we treat the people around us. You know, knowing that the cancer survivor or the grieving parent might be carrying the secret burden, it changes the conversation. It stops us from demanding they be happy and lets us start asking how they really are.
That's the shift. And if we go back to that evolutionary theory one last time, if the guilt is the fear of not belonging, the fear of being cast out, then maybe the cure isn't just internal work. Maybe the cure is proving that fear wrong.
And how do we do that?
By being vulnerable, by letting people in, by connecting. When we do that, we prove to that primitive part of our brain, I'm still here. I am still part of the tribe. I still belong. We prove that our survival isn't a crime against the group, but an asset to it.
I still belong. That is a powerful place to end. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves and check in on your people.
You are listening to a Yenit podcast.
Today we're reviewing a guide called 5 Ways to Support Someone Who Has Experienced a Traumatic Event, which pairs heavy PTSD statistics with behavioral support tips.
Yeah, it's a heavy topic for sure, but we should probably dive right into the feedback.
Let's do it. The most significant friction point here is that the piece relies heavily on directive verbs without supplying the tactical language required to actually execute them.
Right. I mean, looking at the list, point 1 just says encourage the person to talk, and point 5 says discourage negative coping strategies.
Exactly. And the weakness here is that those identify the desired outcome, but fail to provide the method. I mean, if you're the reader, you're probably terrified of saying the wrong thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So if the instruction is just encourage them to talk, and you don't know how, you might push way too hard.
Or you just freeze up entirely. But to play devil's advocate here, if we give them an exact script, doesn't that risk sounding, robotic?
That is a fair concern. But the suggestion is to incorporate specific bridge phrases or microscripts that model exactly how to initiate these delicate conversations without sounding controlling or judgmental.
Ah, so it's about signaling safety.
Right. Let's look at some concrete examples. Instead of a broad instruction to encourage talk, provide a script like, I'm here to listen if you're ready, but I'm also comfortable just sitting in silence with you.
Wow, yeah, that removes the pressure completely.
Mention scripts like, I've noticed you're staying late every night. Let's figure out a way to pause so you can recharge.
It turns it into an alliance rather than a command. That's a great fix for the verbal side of things. Moving on, there is a distinct tonal mismatch between the clinical severity of the introduction and the perceived levity of the coping examples.
Oh, you caught that shift in the vibe too?
Yeah, it's hard to miss. The weakness is that the piece opens with a really heavy statistic, that 37% of those with PTSD have severe symptoms, but then point 3 suggests the person should take baths or watch television.
It feels a bit like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Right. While those are totally valid for mild stress, these examples risk trivializing the physiological reality of the severe trauma discussed right at the top.
So the suggestion is to upgrade the self-care examples to include evidence-based grounding techniques that feel commensurate with the gravity of those statistics.
Exactly. We need concrete examples here, too. Replace passive activities like watching television with active nervous system regulation tools.
Like the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique.
Or box breathing. By making that swap, you align the advice with the severe symptoms mentioned in the intro.
Which makes the text feel much more clinically robust. The solution actually matches the problem.
So, to summarize this critique, the piece can be strengthened by providing specific conversational scripts for the directive advice, and by upgrading the coping examples to match the severity of the PTSD statistics cited.
Please submit the revised draft for further review. We're really looking forward to see how you tighten this up.
Today we're looking at tackles a problem seemingly every nation faces eventually. But right now...
Yeah, right now it is absolutely critical for Iran.
Right, exactly. So for you listening, the question is, can professional expertise bridge the gap when politics has, well, completely failed to unite a movement?
It's a really fascinating angle because usually when we talk about revolutions or social movements, we analyze the ideologies. You know, who wants a republic versus a monarchy?
But today's source, Dr. Hossein Shoukou Amiri, kind of pushes all of that aside.
He does. And he's not coming at this as a political theorist. He is a professor of surgery at LSU.
Right. He leads their liver and pancreas transplant group.
Exactly. So he's looking at a nation in crisis and diagnosing it like a patient on an operating table.
Which completely changes the vocabulary of the solution.
Yeah.
He delivered this speech for the Masa Health series.
And he starts by looking at the current state of Iran. I mean, he's been living abroad for 44 years doing charity work.
But he describes the current situation as a general uprising.
Yeah, he paints a pretty grim picture of the economic and social ruin on the ground.
He really does.
Yeah.
But the real tension he spots isn't just the violence, it's the disconnect.
Right, you have unity in the suffering inside the country. Young men and women facing economic ruin and immediate physical danger.
But then there's total chaos in the opposition outside of it.
And you know that fragmentation is dangerous. Dr. Shoukou Amiri argues that when people risking their lives on the streets see the opposition abroad fighting over manifestos,
Right, or future governance.
it's demoralizing. It actually discourages the uprising.
So he proposes a solution from his own world, which is the Masa Medical Group.
This is a group of doctors from all over, including the U.S., coming together to treat Iranian patients.
But surely these doctors have the same political disagreements as everyone else, right?
Oh, almost certainly. Statistically, you'd have monarchists, Republicans, leftists, and conservatives all in that group.
But this is where the medical model becomes a mental framework for conflict resolution.
Think of it like battlefield triage. When a patient is bleeding out in the ER, you don't stop to debate hospital administration policy.
You don't ask the surgeon if they voted left or right.
Exactly. The urgency of the bleeding forces a suspension of all other identities. Dr. Shoukou Amiri is arguing that the nation is currently bleeding out.
And constitutional debates are a luxury for the recovery room, not the emergency room.
Which brings us to his core strategy, strategic postponement.
It's a powerful concept. He's telling the opposition to stop arguing over the drapes when the house is on fire.
Put the fire out first, remove the oppressive regime, as he calls it.
And then you can have your heated debates about what the new living room should look like.
Right, but why is that so hard for political groups to do? I mean, doctors do it every day.
Because for a doctor, the product is health. It's tangible. For a political activist, the product is the ideology.
Asking them to suspend their politics feels like asking them to suspend their identity.
And that's why Shoukou Amiri appeals to professionals, specifically not politicians.
He actually lists some specific fields, too. Psychology, medical engineering, and social issues.
And that's crucial. He's not just asking for more surgeons. He mentions psychologists, because a population living under this level of oppression is traumatized.
They need mental triage just as much as physical surgery.
And the engineers.
Well, if the regime shuts down the internet, you don't need a manifesto.
You need a medical engineer or a tech expert to build a workaround so people can communicate.
He's asking people to pivot from what do I think to what can I do.
It effectively turns expertise into a neutral ground. It's also worth noting where this message is coming from. He thanks Dariush Eghbali and the Ayne Foundation for the platform.
That context is huge. Dariush isn't just a singer. He's a legendary cultural icon and activist.
Having him host this bridges the gap between serious academic surgery and the heart of Iranian pop culture.
It signals that this service-first message is trying to reach everyone, not just the elites.
So the takeaway for you listening here is that unity isn't about everyone agreeing on the destination.
It's about agreeing to drive the ambulance together. Action is the unifying force, while rhetoric just divides.
It's a sobering thought. We often think we need to resolve our differences before we can act.
But maybe like a surgical team, we need to act first so we survive long enough to have those differences.
Which leaves you with this to mull over. If doctors can suspend their politics to save lives, what other sectors could apply this service-first model to solve gridlocked social crises?
It's a great question.
Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.